We are nearing the end with Penguin. But before I talk about episode 7, I want to, and I'll try and keep this brief, I want to make a quick note that I should have done earlier. Because somebody pointed out to me that they found it odd that I have not mentioned the fat suit that they have Colin Farrell in this. And that is actually kind of a fair call out. Now, couple things about this. I've done a whole video zeroing in on the example of Fat Thor from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but talking in a bit about that representation in general. And my general stance on fat suits is they're not good and shouldn't be used. Now, the thing is, I think the main reason I haven't brought it up is that I already knew going in that was going to be the case. So in my head, it got filed under, that's not something I need to talk about because you already know and you've made the decision you're going to watch it anyway. Because, and this is kind of the other thing, I'm not really into like purity. I'm not into this like idea of like everything must be perfect and have no problematic elements. There's plenty of stuff that I like that has things in it that I think are not good, and it would be better if that wasn't the case. Frickin' Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure drops the homophobic F slur. 300 is a movie I love, and I have all the problems with its politics. Like, I will not defend those aspects of those things, but I will still watch those things and I will still enjoy them. And while I guess I will point out that the character being fat is not a plot point in the way that most of the time an actor being put in a fat suit is, I'm not going to wholly defend it. I'm certainly not going to say that if it makes you uncomfortable and you don't watch the show, that's a problem. You make your call about what's a deal breaker for you. It wasn't for me. But even though I came to the conclusion before I was even going to watch this that like I'm not going to dwell on it because I'm going to watch the thing anyway, I should have still noted this at the very beginning, at the very least, to put out there that like I'm aware that this is a problem and it's not a good thing that they did it. I am not going to dwell on it. Other people might. I am still going to watch the show. Other people might not. But I should have said at the beginning that, yeah, I'm aware this is actually not a very good thing. So just got that off my chest. And fair dues to the person who pointed out that I really should have said something about it. Because, no, fair is fair. Whether I continue to watch the thing or not, whether I continue to think it's good, and spoiler, I do, that was something that I should have noted, if only to make it clear to people, like, I'm not ignorant of the problem. Not only have I spoken about it before, but I need to reiterate that that wasn't a token one-off. I am aware that these are issues. But coming back to it, Penguin episode 7, there is a lot to unpack in this. It's hard to even know where to start. The flashbacks to Oz as a kid. Oh boy, that was a lot. The show doesn't really dig into Oz's feelings about what happened. I mean, I feel very solidly he did not want the outcome that happened. Like, he was pissed off at his brothers. He shut them in there. He went home. It was raining. He didn't know it was going to rain enough to flood. He didn't know that was going to happen. But, I mean, it's even possible that even seeing the rain, he didn't realize how bad it was going to get. But we also don't know what ever happened when he found out. We see him a little bit later where he seems to be more or less okay. And so if certain people choose to interpret that there was more intent behind it, they can. I don't personally think there was. That was a heart-sinking thing, though, when he shut that door. I'm like, oh my gosh, he doesn't even realize what's going to happen. And I did, and the thing played it on a slow burn, which just, my stomach kept sinking. That was a lot. And then we have, and I'm going to kind of circle back to what happens at the end, or towards the end, where we get the flash of his mother, taking him out dancing and kind of breaking down a bit, like, you need to become somebody. You're my only hope that I'm going to be taken care of. And while I understand her fears, that's a lot to put on a kid. That's a messed up thing to put on a kid, actually. And while I'm not going to say this is like the keystone to why Oz is the way he is, he pretty much seemed to already be on the trajectory before all this happened from what we see in the flashback. But like, yeah, you can see how that has done a fair bit of damage. Oh boy. If your life is not what you want it to be, it is not your kid's responsibility to make it what you want it to be, or make it what you think you deserve. Like, that's no. If you get old and your kids are able and willing to take care of you, that's wonderful and amazing and fantastic. But do not put that on your children, especially not when they are children. Holy crap. But anyways, I like to be clear. I'm not talking about like just the general, help your parents out in little ways. Like, she is putting the responsibility of her life not being worthless onto him. The fact that she is unhappy with her life, she's just burdened him with, and that's messed up. So that the one other thing I'll say about the flashback stuff is that I think the kid actors do okay. You can tell that the accent wasn't theirs. It wasn't natural, which in and of itself is okay, but it did stick out to me at a few points, especially like when he said to his mother, I'm going to give you the life you deserve. Like, he really hit the deserve. And like, it wasn't wrong in terms of the accent that he was doing, but he hit it harder than like you would just trying to be natural with it. That took me out of it a little, but for the most part, the kids are fine. Like, child actors, it's tough. It is tough to get the performance you need out of child actors. And that doesn't mean they're not good child actors. It means that like their skill set is going to be more limited as performers. That's just a fact. But that they did well enough. So Sal Maroni, it's kind of funny. On paper, the idea that Sal just drops dead because of a heart attack, I would think that's a cop-out. Like, that's cheating. Like, that's disappointing. When it happened in the moment, though, it worked for me. And maybe part of it was purely coincidental timing, because right before he started wheezing, I had the thought, watching the two of them fight, I had the thought, it's kind of interesting how this is a somewhat balanced fight, because while Sal obviously is like in better shape than Oz, he's also way older, and Oz has his own disability issues and his own limitations, and like that's kind of a little bit balanced. And like and thinking to myself, Sal's, boy, he's pushing himself pretty hard for an old guy. And then right after that, he started wheezing. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like the show heard me. It's like, yeah, he is pushing himself pretty hard for an old guy. See? So part of that was just coincidental timing with the thoughts going on in my brain when it happened. And sometimes weird quirks like that make something work better than it might have otherwise. But also, I really like Oz's reaction to it. His frustration, like his insistence, I won. He is annoyed that it feels like fate just handed him this. For as much as like he is opportunistic and will take every opportunity he gets, he still wants to feel like he earned it. Even if he lies to himself about whether or not that's true, he still wants to feel like he earned it. And when the guy drops dead from a heart attack, he feels robbed by that. And that was a good moment. That was taking something that could have been a cop-out, just getting rid of this character, and, Deus Ex Machina saving the protagonist, feels like the wrong word, main character of the show, but it still brings something. It's not just clearing Sal off the table. It is giving moments to Oz that are valid. These are valid moments to show. I also just kind of like how he got out of it was by pushing Sal as hard as he could, because he'd already heard the other guy stop Sal from trying to kill him. So if I wind this guy up enough that Sal is going to try and kill me, this guy has to stop him, that's probably to my advantage. Like, did he know specifically what was going to happen? No, absolutely not. But again, that opportunism, that like, this is something I can do that'll change the situation, maybe for better, maybe for worse, but what I'm in now is bad, so let's try it. And that is an aspect of Oswald that, again, feels very in line with the Gotham version, which I don't know. In an odd way, this feels almost like a more grounded spiritual successor to that version of this character. And I've gone off before on how much I like Gotham. So the stuff, I was surprised how comfortable I was with the stuff with Oz's mother and Sophia. First of all, I like that his mother just, she's got Sophia's number. And like actually kind of spirals her into a bit of an existential crisis. Like by pointing out, okay, so you changed your name. Okay, so like these people are on top, those people are on top. Same winners, same losers. The game doesn't change, and my boy plays it better. And yeah, part of that is, this cocky kind of a brash thing that she has going on, but part of it is there's a ring of truth to it. Enough of a ring of truth to shake Sophia in a way that felt realistic, that felt reasonable. So I did like that. I got real nervous and like kind of stick a pin in this because we might have to see how it plays out next episode. But I got nervous when Oz's mother, which I keep saying because I'm struggling to remember the character's name right now, and I apologize for that. But she detaches from reality and she starts just kind of seeming out of it. I like that she pulled it together enough to slap Sophia, but also I'm like, oh crap, they're going to get information out of her because she's not holding it together. And that, like, that's not an invalid plot point, but that's a level of taking advantage of a disability that I'm just not super comfortable watching. It did help that we didn't have to actually see what happened. We didn't have to watch the conversation, and B, they had the therapist do it, which makes more sense. It makes me feel less like it is a contrivance to give her dementia just to have her spill information to whoever. Like, no, they still needed someone who like knew how to handle someone with those kinds of conditions. So that helps. It does start to make me think, was that the entire point of the therapist? Was he reverse engineered just so he could do this? Because while he has not bothered me nearly as much as I was afraid he was going to do, he also has not brought a lot to the table. So this feels like the first truly tangible thing he's done in the whole show. So I have to wonder, like, did his inclusion start from this, and then they just worked backward to figure out how do we introduce him and how much do we put him in up to that point? I don't know. I'm not saying that's what happened, but it feels like that a little bit. And the explosion. That did a real good job of giving you a sense of the size and scope of that. Of in the moment when it happened, and also in the aftermath. Oz, getting back above ground and seeing the destruction that happened. And yes, I did catch the more than slightly ironic thing that the tunnel he goes into for safety is the same one he locked his brothers in. So, next episode, we've got the showdown. We've got the showdown between Oz and Sophia, and I don't know how it's going to wrap up. We also don't know where Vic is right now. It actually gets established that nobody knows where Vic is and they were just getting his voicemail. So he's going to turn up and do something, but I don't know what. And I don't know how this is going to wrap up. And I mean that in a good way. I mean that in a this feels like almost anything could happen kind of way. I am confident Oz will not be dead, but I'm not positive. I'm pretty confident that will not happen. But I'm not positive and outside of that, I've got almost no idea what the heck's going to happen. Like this. And the stuff with the kid, the little girl, that was, I think that was decently handled. It was a little bit of an odd scene, but I think that was decently handled largely because of how Sophia played it. And you could tell that she is, trying to look out for her own future and business and goals, but at the same time, having this kid, I was going to say believe that she killed her family. Like, it's true that you did, but there's something about her delivery where it doesn't feel like an act where there's pain in her voice. Like having someone look at her like that and probably remind her of the way people looked at her when they thought she was the hangman. That she plays that really well. That hurt seems genuine, even as she moves in the directions she does. Anyway, so that was pretty good. Penguin penultimate episode, finale next week. I don't know if I'm going to be doing episode by episode reviews on anything else anytime soon. I suppose the closest will probably be Arcane, because I'll probably that's going to be released in 3-episode blocks like the first season was. So I'll probably talk each block as it comes out, but that's probably going to be the closest to episode by episode reviews I'm going to do on anything for a while, at least that I can think of in terms of what's coming out. But I'll be dropping other stuff here in the meantime, video game reviews and movies and books and whatever else. But what are your thoughts on the penultimate episode of Penguin? Whatever they are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills, enables me to do this as my living. Even if you can't help me out that way, like, share, and subscribe. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can just come on back next time you need a break. And now to give thanks to my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Zubin Lutfula, Goddess Elida, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Oliver B., Melissa Pedersen, Movie Turtle, Ulrich Bogdan, Loki Eris, Melinda Walters, Auntie Kate 808, Becky Sparks, Bernabulex the Poodle, Tracy Scrabbit, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, Quite Bearish, Rosalind Bennett, Adam RDL Taylor, Pau Baraba Jago, Mira G, and Sir Didymus is my favorite. I don't know, it feels right that it's October the first time you're seeing all three of these at the same time.